From Arvest Ballpark here in Springdale, Arkansas, it's Riders on Deck. I'm Nathan Barnett. This is Ryan Rillard as we get you ready for Game 1 here, this 3-game series. The RoughRiders in Springdale to take on the Northwest Arkansas Naturals. Game 1 tonight, Jake Junis going for Northwest Arkansas, Reed Garrett going for the RoughRiders. We'll talk about Garrett in just a bit, but first let's talk about the big picture for this series, Ryan. The RoughRiders come in not playing their best baseball still, but they are that close a lot of nights, and this is a team in Northwest Arkansas that hasn't played very well this year. If the RoughRiders are going to be a competitive team in the second half and vie for a playoff berth, this kind of feels like a series that they should win.
Right, and I don't think they have to sweep it. I think they can win 2 out of 3, especially being on the road, and that's a good result here to take back home to Frisco. You'll see this team again in a short while, but you talk about taking care of business. It doesn't get much easier when you look at South Division play, which is coming up soon. Midland's off to a great start in the second half. Corpus Christi still playing pretty well, and even San Antonio's gotten better. So North Division's still a strong division, but there's some opportunities out here on this North Division trip, especially up here in Arkansas, to take advantage and get some wins.
Well, the good news is the RoughRiders have taken on Northwest Arkansas twice. They've played them in 2 3-game series, once here, once at home, and they've won them both, and they've swept them both. They're 6-0 against the Naturals. So even though both teams look a little bit different than they did back in April, the RoughRiders seem to match up well against this group.
Right. They hit really well that first time around against the Naturals, and despite the pitching arms that the Naturals carry, the RoughRiders actually fared pretty well against some of these arms they faced those first 6 games against Northwest Arkansas. So I think that bodes well. Obviously, 2 months have passed. It's a different time and a different team in certain ways, but I think they can benefit from that and just have a little bit of confidence going into this series, knowing they've fared pretty well against this team so far.
Well, looking specifically at today, they're going to face a tough righty in Jake Junis. Reed Garrett goes for Frisco. The numbers aren't great, but I think Reed has been a lot better than the numbers really indicate. You just look at his last start, for example. You know, the overall numbers, he gave up 6 runs, 10 hits in 5 innings, but he took a 2-run game into the 6th. So he maybe has been a little bit better than it appears.
Yeah, I mean, he's a kind of guy that has gotten to a certain point where he's been really strong and then had a little bit of a struggle at the end. I think for him it's about maintaining the early success, keeping that going throughout his start. And he's a guy, too, that is stranding a ton of runners right now, which is a double-sided sword. That means he's putting a lot of guys on as well, but he's doing a great job to get out of threats and keep teams off the board. If he can continue to do that, and here that'll be a big opportunity for this RoughRiders squad to stay in the ball game early and then hopefully strike against Northwest early and often.
Yeah, he's a competitor, no doubt. And for the RoughRiders, a test against Jake Junis tonight here at 6:35. The Dr. Pepper pregame show begins at 6 o'clock with Steve Goldberg. And today is our guest here on the Dr. Pepper pregame show is going to be Jason Hart, the acting manager for the RoughRiders for the final day before Joe Mikulik returns to the club tomorrow. That's it for us here for Riders on Deck. He's Ryan Rillard. I'm Nathan Barnett for Riders TV.